The Minnesota Vikings head across the pond this Sunday to play a little Sunday morning football against the New Orleans Saints. We're going to get into that game right after this. Big game for your Minnesota Vikings coming up on Sunday. As I mentioned, in London against the New Orleans Saints. Vikings coming off a come from behind victory against division rival the Detroit Lions. The Saints are coming off a loss to their division rival Carolina Panthers. I feel a lot better about the Vikings coming into this game. Obviously, we've seen flashes of good things on offense from Kevin O'Connell, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, all Adam Thielen, Delvin Cook's played pretty well. I don't know if he's going to make it for this game. There's so much on offense for the Vikings that I like. And for the Saints, obviously Jameis Winston dealing with the injury. They have a ton of talent on their offense as well. Their defense has some pieces, really good corners, solid pass rush. So I think this is going to be a really, really good matchup. And I mean, what scares me the most, I think, for me, is their offense against our defense, just because of the way our defense has played these last couple weeks. So, I mean, honestly, this is a big game. 2-1, you're feeling pretty good. You beat the Saints, you go to 3-1. So this, for the Vikings, this is a really big game, and obviously for the Saints as well, they want to get back to 500. A big game for them. So
Right.
I'm excited for this one. Obviously, Saints and Vikings have a ton of history, so I think this is going to be I think it's going to be a pretty solid football game. We'll see. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, the history, man. The history. We've had some, just the 2009 Brett Favre thing, the Minneapolis Miracle. I mean, in our generation of watching the Vikings specifically, the Saints have always been one of those teams that stand out, and there's always stuff that goes down every time we play them. So I'm excited just because of that. I agree. I think we go in this as the better team. I think we're just like the better. We just have the better overall talent. I think we were talking about this before as well, where the Saints just kind of feel like they're injury ridden. Like they just have Michael Thomas finally just got back. Alvin Kamara is like in and out. It seems like Jameis Winston with his injury, and it seems like it's something that's just going to continue affecting their season.
Yeah,
and which I don't think helps them very much, obviously. So yeah, I think going into this, I think we can win this one. But yeah.
We'll see.
We'll
Anyway,
dive a little bit more into the players and stuff. But
yep, for sure. So we got 3 X factors for you in this game. Let's start off with those.
Before we do that, though, I want to thank everybody for watching GG Sports podcast of Minnesota Vikings. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get notifications for more of our videos and all that good stuff. Let's jump right in here, starting with
number 1 X factor. Justin Jefferson against Saints number 1 cornerback Marshon Lattimore. Now, this is going to be a big matchup. Marshon Lattimore, very, very talented corner. Obviously, he's good at getting in receivers' heads, as we saw with the Mike Evans situation. And Justin Jefferson, after the huge 184-yard, 2-touchdown performance against the Green Bay Packers, has been quiet. I think the big thing with Justin Jefferson is he is obviously an elite talent. He's a smart receiver. He's going to figure it all out. He just needs to realize, I think he does realize that he's the top dog on this team now. He's the guy that, before it was like, oh, we got to watch out for Delvin Cook. We got to watch out for this. We got to watch out for that. Defenses are saying we need to watch out for Justin Jefferson because that guy will hurt us. So what are we going to do to take him away? And I think what happened in Philadelphia, as we saw, I think Kirk was maybe a little, and I think it might have been game planning as well. I think the offense itself was too hyper focused around Justin Jefferson, which is why, none of the other receivers got into the game. And I think it's just why our offense faltered against Philadelphia, aside from Philadelphia having a good defense, of course. But now, last week we finally saw Thielen and KJ get involved. And I think, and you mentioned it in our power rankings video yesterday, that that's only going to help Justin Jefferson. When those other people get involved, they have other people to watch out for. And then Justin Jefferson is going to find more lanes to be open and figure it out. But I think this is a big matchup, mainly because I would assume he's going to be shadowed by Marshon Lattimore. And it's going to be a tough matchup. But Justin Jefferson eventually is going to have to pick himself up off the mat. He's going to have another big game. The guy is too talented. He's going to be fine. He just needs to figure it all out with this enhanced coverage he's getting. And I think he'll do it eventually. And it's a tough week to do it, though. Say what you will about the Saints. They do have pieces on defense, and Marshon Lattimore, along with PJ Williams and Bradley Roby, their other corners, I think is going to be a big receiver game. And obviously, I think Adam Thielen is going to end up having a pretty big game, and KJ as well. But Justin Jefferson needs to pick himself up off the mat eventually. And what better way to do it than against one of the top corners in the league?
Yeah. And yeah, exactly what you said. You know, having a couple off games, you know, he's itching to have another huge game. Coming into the season, wanting to be the best wide receiver in the league, aiming for 2,000 yards receiving. After the last 2 weeks, he's quite a bit behind that now, especially when he had that first week where he was definitely on track for that. It's, you know, if I'm him, I want to come out and have a big game again. You know, 2 weeks in a row. I'm assuming that is probably way below his expectations. So I think he needs it for himself. And I just, obviously, we need him to be more involved and be our best player like he is. And like you said, that's why we have to get other wide receivers involved early. We need to get Adam Thielen and KJ involved early. Really early. We need to get Thielen like 100 yards. I know we think Thielen could be potentially the most important player to us in this game in the long haul, because, you know, with everybody covering Justin Jefferson, we need to feed the ball to somebody, and it should be, I think, Adam Thielen. And hopefully, because of that opens up things for Justin Jefferson, and then we can just get a complete game throughout the entire offense where we get Justin Jefferson over 100 yards and Adam Thielen over 100 yards. With a quarterback like Kirk Cousins and the wide receivers we have, I don't see why we can't have a couple wide receivers getting over 100 yards. It doesn't have to just be Justin Jefferson who's trying to go for 200 yards.
Right.
And that's what I think should happen and needs to happen. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Justin Jefferson is going to come out and have a huge game. I think Saints defense knows to stop Justin Jefferson, but they had to see what happened to the Lions last week with Adam Thielen earlier on, and of course KJ Osborne at the end of the game, and that you can't just worry about Justin Jefferson. And also, I hope that we, as our coaches and stuff, know that as well after us beating the Lions that way, and then especially beating the Lions that way, coming in with all that momentum into this game. And, you know, I'm hoping all that stuff combines and we just come out swinging.
Yeah. But
everything works out perfect.
Right. But he's got to do it. Eventually he's going to, and he will. He'll figure out this coverage. And I promise you, like, Thomas, whatever your name is, if you're watching from your basement, most likely, we're not whining here. We're actually trying to figure some things out. So I hope for another big game from Justin Jefferson. And the other receivers are only going to benefit this offense can be unstoppable if they all get it figured out. And Justin Jefferson, like I said, Justin Jefferson has had his first 2 seasons were proving to people like, I'm worthy of where I was picked, and I'm worthy of being picked higher than I was. Now it's you need to prove people right that you're an elite talent in this league, like you are, and he's going to go out and do it eventually. And I hope he does it against Marshawn Lattimore.
And we do have a young head coach, and it is only going into week 4 now, right? Yeah. We're only going into week 4. There is going to be growing pains, and he does have to still figure things out. And I think, of course, this wasn't just going to go right into the season and be perfect, but we are 2-1 going into this game. And we do have Justin Jefferson, and I think we are going to get it figured out and get this offense running at full steam, which is a scary thought, especially since it hasn't been yet. We haven't figured out the puzzle of keeping Justin Jefferson open and also using other weapons.
Right, for sure. Second X factor for the Minnesota Vikings versus the New Orleans Saints is flip it around. Our cornerbacks, Patrick Peterson, Cam Dantzler against Chris Olave and Mike Thomas over there, as well as they got Jarvis Landry on that team. Now, last week, against the Eagles, Dantzler looked really, really good. Peterson did not. The script kind of flipped last week. Dantzler, I think he allowed like 7 catches for 70-some yards and a touchdown. Patrick Peterson was targeted 8 times, only allowed 2 receptions. So, but I mean, Patrick Peterson is still a little bit slower than he used to be, but he's smart. He's obviously a great leader. We'll see if he can keep it up. But man, these two have an app, and we can kind of group these guys again together with our pass rush. Like, this is a tough task. Chris Olave is definitely one of the top rookies. I mean, he might be in the running for rookie of the year at the end of the year. Not surprised. People knew he was good, but really stepping up for that New Orleans Saints team. Mike Thomas, now he's finally playing again for the first time in a couple of years. He's been looking solid as well. They got Elvin Kamara out of the backfield. This is going to be a big test for these corners against this team. Jameis Winston can still chuck the ball around, obviously, But I don't know. This concerns me a little bit, which is why Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, DJ Wanham, they got it.
Yes.
You know, the guys in the middle. You got to get home. You got to stop the run. You got to pressure. You got to pressure Winston. You got to make it easier on these corners. So I'm a little bit concerned. Hopefully Andrew Booth can maybe make it back and make an impact this week. But I don't know. This is what probably concerns me the most about playing the New Orleans Saints right now.
Yeah, and this is why we got to bring the pressure. That's I talked about Kevin O'Connell being a new head coach and everything, but we need Ed Donatel to change his stuff, or Kevin O'Connell take that over or something, because we cannot. First off, we cannot stand so far away from these wide receivers, especially guys like Michael Thomas, where they can just cut right in, and there's such a big body wide receiver. That I mean, he's almost like a tight end. He'll be able to catch everything in open space and all that stuff. And Olave is, I mean, he's like, I know he was a deep threat coming in, kind of, but he can kind of do it all too. And he has been really impressive, with over almost 300 yards through 3 weeks, which is insane for a rookie. And I know we weren't even that big on him, so I mean, he's kind of proving us wrong there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have to figure that out. You can't scheme against these wide receivers again that way. But more importantly, I think, is the pass rush, like you said, with Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunters. We need to press on Jameis Winston, or get the pressure on Jameis Winston. I know, what's it, Purple FTW or whatever, Purple for the win. He had a tweet saying that we had pass rush on 13, or blitz on 13% of our plays, which is like the 5th lowest in the league or something like that. Yeah, it's obvious. That's a big issue. We have 2 of the best pass rushers in the entire game. You need to rush them and blitz them as much as possible. We can't leave quarterbacks with so much time, because so far we've been doing that. We're making Jared Goff complete 90% of his passes, and that's not okay. So we need to figure that out right away, and especially to help our corners, because Michael Thomas, he's only getting, it's only been his 3 weeks in, back from being out for at least a year, right? I don't even know if he played at all last year. So at least a year. He's only going to probably get better and better. He's already impressed for coming back the way he has.
Right.
And it's going to be a tall task. But I think, they can do all they can, but a lot of it, for their side of things, will be, Jameis Winston keeping down his turnovers and his mistakes. And that's what we need to kind of rely on. And that's another reason why we need to get the pass rush going, so he makes mistakes. Because I think that's going to be one of the biggest things, is Jameis Winston's mistakes and us taking advantage of it.
For sure. Again, Thomas Hines catch up. We're not whining here. If you guys don't understand what we're talking about, go check our comment section of our Lions review. Anyway, moving on to our third X factor for the upcoming game against the New Orleans Saints. Harrison Smith returning from his concussion against Jameis Winston. Now, as we know, and this is another we can kind of lump in the pass rush with this. Again, if you can get to Jameis Winston, especially right now with his injuries, you can force him into mistakes. The last 2 weeks when he was really pressing, I think he had 3 interceptions against Tampa and 2 last week against Carolina. He can overthrow some receivers, and that's where Harrison Smith, we always know he's lurking back there when he's not part of the pass rush. And I think Harrison Smith could get a turnover off of old Jameis Winston here. Maybe even get a fumble out of him on a blitz. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, Jameis, give him credit. He can sling the ball around, but it's hard. I mean, I assume it's hard to do any job with 4 fractures in your back. So, get some. I know he didn't even practice. I recording this Wednesday. He didn't even practice on Wednesday with his. Andy Dalton was taking snaps for him, but I mean, I still think he's going to end up playing, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know. Get some pressure on him, scare him, force him into making some bad decisions, and Harrison Smith and the other defensive backs could benefit.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, that's like I already said before. I think it's going to come a lot down to putting the pressure on him and trying to create turnovers, which is something that I just want to see the Vikings do more of. We haven't been terrible at it, but the only time we've been getting turnovers have been kind of towards ends of the game, where it was almost like either the game seemed out of hands, like against the Eagles, we got the blocked field goal. I don't know. I want to see it earlier. I want to see us get an interception that's like just the game's over because of it, not we're already down so much and we get a blocked field goal or anything like that, and then we're kind of already in the hole too far, or the game's already over. They have no choice but to throw it up and we get an interception or something like that. I want to see some turnovers early. That's like game impactful turnovers. That's the right word to use for that. And I think this is a good team to try to do that against. And I want to see our defense just stand up in that area. And it comes down to like us feeling like our defense hasn't been aggressive enough. But yeah, again, defense needs to be more aggressive. I'll just say that for the end of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to in this football game. Again, just a big game for the Vikings. I mean, you want to come out of this London game at 3-1. 2-2 just doesn't feel very good. 3-1 gives you a good start. You go against Chicago the week after, which Chicago is Chicago. I mean, we always struggle against them anyway, but it's here at US Bank Stadium. So I think we should be able to win that game. And then you got a tough game with Miami after that. So you could, at least be looking at 4-1 going into that Miami game if you can win this one. And so that's why this game is so important to me looking at it. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a test. Like we said, they have a lot of offensive weapons. We talked about that throughout this video. So it's gonna be big on our defense. Like, will you be better than you have been the last 2 weeks? Because you need to be. And then can our offense keep sustaining success? And I think finally, Kevin O'Connell can see, and I'm sure they're watching on a film all week. Here's how teams are defending Justin Jefferson. And he said it himself, what can I do to put him in better situations? So I think Kevin O'Connell is going to figure it out. I think Justin Jefferson's going to figure it out. I think he's going to just try his best to get every member of the offense involved. And the running game. I think things really opened up because we kept running the football. Like, I get it. Everybody hated the Mike Zimmer regime because run, pass, punt. That's all we did. But you got to run the ball. Like, you can't just not run the football. You can't be one-dimensional. They say that when you're running too much. They say it when you're passing too much. You got to mix it in. So, and our offensive line's been solid in run blocking. So, just you got to pound the rock with Delvin or Madison, whoever's going to end up playing. Special teams. We get to talk about special teams. Ryan Wright, keep doing your thing. Greg Joseph, bounce back. You had 2 missed kicks. I'm sure they were your career-long field goal, like what you've made, but there were still 2 misses. Bounce back from it. Need a complete team performance in an unfamiliar location over in London against a solid football team that has a lot of pieces. So I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? Any other thoughts before we get into score predictions?
Yeah, man. I think I think we have so much talent, and especially if Delvin Cook does play, which it sounds like he could. There's a good chance. He's in pretty good spirits with everything. But man, our offense is just so stacked, and it just feels like we're so close, I think, to really fully taking advantage of that and all the players that we have. And I think this could definitely be that game. I think there's just one of these games going to come up and we're just going to smoke a team because of our offense, and we won't even care what's going on with our defense. That's what I want to see. I want just a complete, because we have the talent. I just want to see our offense come in and just completely destroy a team. Even against the Packers, we came in hot, but we kind of slowed down against them. And then it really was our defense that game that won it for us. I want to just see a complete game from our offense where we just come in and we just destroy. We don't stop. They don't even have a chance. And I'm hoping that this is that game.
Yeah. So score predictions. What do you got for this one? Do the Vikings move
last week
3-1?
you got the right score predictions.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Vikings for sure. This is a game we should win. I think we're a favorite in this game. And we do good in any game I remember us playing in London. Maybe it was only one game. I don't know.
I think we have a pretty big London fan base too.
Yeah, I think we do. So it's pretty much a home game for us. That being said, I think it's going to be 28. Shoot, almost went the same as last. I don't know why I say 20. I'm going to go 32. Let's go over 30. I'm going to go 32 to 21.
Okay. Who's your breakout performer? Who's your top performer in this game for the Vikings?
Harrison Smith. I'm going to go with it. I think Harrison Smith. No, I'm going to go with our pass defense. Harrison Smith is going to get an interception, but we're going to get at least one more interception.
Okay.
Or actually, let's go with 3 turnovers overall. 1 interception for sure by Harrison Smith.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Gotcha. So my score predictions up to this point, I thought every game was going to be close. I think this game is going to start close. I do think the Vikings pull away at the end. I'm going to give the Vikings a 27-17 win. The Saints, like I said, they have a lot of pieces there, but I think eventually we will get to Jameis Winston. We will force him into some bad decisions, those turnovers you're talking about. And I think we're going to end up pulling away at the end of this one. And let's get Justin Jefferson back on the right track. Over 100 yards and a touchdown he's going to have this week. I think they're going to figure out how to have him beat this coverage he's getting. open up the offense a little more. I think he's finally going to get back on track, have a 100-yard game, and I think things are going to be okay in Minnesota. Move to 3-1, head on into Chicago, head on against Chicago at US Bank Stadium, get a win there, move on to Miami. Everything's going to be good. Get into that bye week with a solid record. So that'll do it for our preview of this game. Join us on Sunday for our review, and we'll see you guys then on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.